Hello, we are with Professor G. Aloysius, Gnana Aloysius, and he has done a very serious academic and epistemological critique of nationalism through his work, Nationalism Without a Nation in India. And also he has done, he's now working on the Periyar movement. He's translating Periyar and Pandit Ayodhi Thasa, and many other Dravidian and early Dalit and Neo-Buddhist kind of traditions in South India. So let us talk about his life and his works in detail with Professor Aloysius. So, Professor Aloysius, could you please enlighten us about your childhood, your early education, your social background, and your emergence as an organic intellectual and writer in South Indian society?
Thank you, Ajay. Early life and so on, I don't know how it matters because it is in our subaltern or the Samana tradition. It is the achievement that matters, not the birth circumstances and the birth related stories, etc., etc. But it's okay. I need to have some kind of introduction how I came into this mess of academic activism, activist academics and all that. After my studies, I thought, my father was a traditional Catholic.
Okay.
And he opened his what he called the daily prayer book on the day I was born.
Okay.
And found it as a day of Saint Aloysius. So I was named Aloysius after him. And the expectations ever since then was that I should imitate that saint and become like a saint.
Okay.
And so the end of
it was in Tirunelveli that you...
No, it was in Trichy.
Trichy, okay.
Trichy,
So
yeah,
you are
Tiruchirappalli.
okay.
And at the end of the high school and all that, you do your 8 years or 10 years of high school in a Jesuit school. So all the boys tend to think, what are you going to become? You become a doctor, you become a lawyer, lawyer was not so much, engineer, or priest. So that was a kind of an ideal that was there constantly for many of us.
Right.
And more or less, at home also there are pious people and going to mass regularly and all that kind of thing. So that led eventually me joining the religion as a trainee for priesthood.
Okay.
And spent some 9 years during which I finished my English BA. And 2-3 years of philosophy. 2 years of philosophy. And
that was the master's?
No, we had what they call a philosophy theology combined course. Philosophy theology combined course. And 1 year of what is called humanities. The what you call classical literature like Greek, Hebrew, Latin and all that kind of things. And after that, the trainee people are given 1 year of field experience.
Right.
And unfortunately, I landed for this field experience with the tribals in Chotanagpur, Bihar.
Okay.
And I was fortunate to have a mentor for me, my senior Jesuit, who was an American Jesuit. American Jesuit trained in radical action in America.
Right.
Lot of social action and Christians for socialism and all that kind of, liberation theology and so on and so forth. So let me go in the midst of the tribal people and then live like they do and that kind of thing. Then I discovered that this is a wonderful community.
Right.
And then why should I go back to a community which is for long has been a kind of, very limited in scope.
Right.
And a kind of reading of Bible and worship and so on that I found very alienating.
Okay.
I found very alienating. Right. And also during the course of philosophy also I had a lot of discussions.
Right.
So what is, even things like what is God, what does God expect of you? Does he expect of you to come and worship him all the time? Or you live as he has prescribed, you see? And if the discussion was whether God exists or not exists, I said, I'm not interested. Even if God exists there, He would like me to do whatever I am doing and all that. So finally, that 1 year with the tribal people sealed my fate.
Right.
And I said, I'm not coming back to your community. I'm going to stay with the community,
Right.
with the tribal community. So with that, we started mobilizing people and taking interest in. And for that, we had some experience under this senior American Jesuit I told you we had.
Okay. What was his name, sir?
Robert Curry.
Okay.
Robert Curry. He's still working in Nicaragua.
Oh, I see.
Nicaragua,
Oh,
struggling the same
okay.
way and all that.
He's a white man.
He's a white
Christian.
man. He's a white man.
Right.
And we had some kind of tribal hostel
Oh.
of college students. It was merely an hostel, and we all used to stay. And so it's a discovery how people could live on, some 10 kilos of rice per month and 15 rupees for some vegetables and things like that. So I also used to have to contribute. So I used to get 150 rupees per month.
Oh.
So I used to give that, and then and it's rice and some little bit salt and some kind of dal, like that. But I found it was a very liberating kind of thing with the people, ordinary people. So they dragged me to their homes, to their villages, and so on. And this Robert Curry was who have a little bit on social action and take up small issues locally, solvable, small local issues, organize people concerned around it, and take action and solve it. Things like that. I mean, not go into big ideology and all that kind of thing. And so several issues were solved, small issues. The tribal people used to bring what you call chicken and other things to sell in their market. But all these non-tribals used to snatch away things before they reach the market and then give some pittance of money and all that. So our group of boys will go and stand guard on all the main roads leading to the bazaar. He said, when they come there, no buying, no selling here. He'll go to the market to get a fair price and all that kind of thing. And then that kind of thing stopped and all that. And a few things started taking place like that. And eventually, it boomeranged.
Okay.
In the sense, an issue of the local convent came up. That became a thing. And the problem was then the children in the convent, girl children have a lot of scabies, some kind of
Skin disease.
Skin disease. There used to be some doctors who have been there in the tribal area for so many years. Then he said, no, you people are all eating proper hand-pound rice. You should not be getting this. What are you eating?
Okay.
Then they said, doctor, we are eating rationed rice. How come? You bring rice from home and then submit it to the hostel and then you can eat it. No, sir, it is not like that. They take away all the rice we bring and then instead they give you the ration rice. So this is the issue that came, and the kids reported it to our students, and the students came and said, sir, this is the problem. Let us forget about this issue. We need not take it up. It's too close. It's a church-related issue and all that. But then Robert Curry said, no, it's an issue is an issue, and it's a justice is justice. And church should be in the forward place to implement justice, not like that. And then we try to tell the sisters, this is not good. I mean, please change the caste, the tradition you are making. He said, no, you people are not supposed to interfere. You are supposed to mind your business. That kind of bureaucratic attitude they took and all that. Then these people said, okay, you take an action. What action? They said they used to go to sleep at the middle of the night. All of them get up and bang their plates. I mean, that really put the sisters at a really tremendous kind of stress. 2-3 days like that, he said, the issue went to the bishop and all that kind of thing. And then they came, why should the college students are involved in church institutional life, interfering in all this kind of thing. Blah, blah, blah. Then what we started with changed. They stopped taking the rice from the children and all that. But then it boomeranged on this Jesuit, American Jesuit. See, he's the guy, the culprit, instigating all these kind of things and so on. And he is a very, very kind of very meticulous kind of man. So the superiors called him and then he said, see, this is that and so on. So he come back home and then type out everything. We had a discussion with you and you said this, I said this. And by my objections are this and so on. What do you say to that? Send a copy to the superior, to the bishop, and one to Rome. Now, at that time was what they call Second Vatican Council for opening out the windows to the world and all that kind of thing, new light into the thing and so on and so forth. And this is what church tells me. That's what I'm trying to practice here and all that. Is nothing doing this. So this went on for some time. And then one nasty thing the local bishop did was, he went to the deputy commissioner and advised him not to renew in this man's visa. And Robert Curry was really furious. He said, I'm a Jesuit and you are in a superior thing. I owe obedience to you. You tell me quit this place, get out of this place. I would have taken the bag and then left for America. You didn't have the courage to tell me that. You went behind my back and told the deputy commissioner to not to renew my visa. It became a big issue in the church and all that, but he had to go. At that time, it was a decision-making process for me, and then 2-3 others who were with me. What is the idea of all this? The idea of being a Christian is supposed to be human. To be human in even a better sense than what many other people understand.
Exactly.
So I said bye to the society. I'm not going. At the time, Josna, my partner, also said she had been more bitter struggle because she's a Carolite, and in Kerala society, a problem of leaving and all that, and leaving, not coming home. They said, okay, if you are leaving, leave, but come home. We'll get you married to somebody local and all that kind of thing. But it dragged on for quite some time, and she left and all that. So there was another Mangalorean.
Was she also in this religious order?
She was a nun.
I see.
And there was another Jesuit, a little senior to me, a Mangalorean. He also died. He became so excited about social justice and all that, very emotionally tense and all. He slightly went off.
What was his name?
Freddie Kamath. Freddie Kamath from Bangalore. I tried to cool him, but then he taught me several things. I used to be much of an introvert. Doing writing, reading and all that kind of thing. But then he said the life is much bigger than that. Here, come out and all that. Dragging and play with the children all over the place and all that kind of an open sort of person. Since it slightly went off and so on, I tried to do something, but then they sent him home. You stay there and get cured. But then his people are fairly rich and well-to-do people, Mangalore, Vijaya Bank managers and all that. So at one time there, he got very violent and then said, why are you wearing so many, sister? Why are you wearing so many jewelries and all that? People are dying and all that. Then they beat him up thoroughly. He went unconscious. They thought he died. They scared of him and then they buried him. Buried him and it became a police case. And they dug it up and then found he died of asphyxiation, suffocation. That is his story. But then along with that, there was this Stan Lure Swami was there. Stan Lure Swami also was part of the whole thing and all that. They tried to transfer him into different places. They sent him to Bangalore. There is an ISI there. So you take care of that and all that kind of thing. After a long time, then he came back to Ranchi as a thing. But meantime, we left and continued with the people. That's where I discovered a lot of things. For days and months together, I never used to have any change even in my pocket, money or nothing. Simply walk in and all that, and then people, they're such a beautiful people, no? They call, Babu, you come and sit and eat and go. Don't go walk too much in the sun. And then they'll give the rice beer and all that. There's a karkom, there's a katia, there's a cotton, there's a thread cut. They said lie down for some time and go and all that. They saw this guy is mad for doing. They are accustomed to only officers or contractors, things like that, no. So they said these people come to extract. Then because we tried to learn their language, language, dance with them, sing with them and all that. He said, "These are our people," sort of thing like that. Then we developed a lot of other issues, also developed minimum wages issue, cooperatives, and we ran a newspaper also and all that. It went on for 10 years. Lot of, it was the whole, the district Singhbum. It was a district Singhbum. Ho people, the Ho tribals and all that. It was a real kind of, kalaham inside. And we had several number of cases, going to jail back and forth, both she and going to jail, coming back and all that. Finally we survived all that. Then what I found was, many of the things we want, for example, minimum wages or even the cases in the court and all that, if you are there on the spot, things somewhat take place. The moment you turn, the whole thing goes back to the original stage. That we found, why is it like that? Then we found, what is the idea? Because in that mining case, we found mines, not only minimum wages, they were digging in their own field, and their homes were all being uprooted and all that kind of thing. So we took up both the issues and so on. Then we told the people, this mine belongs to you and the land belongs to you. You are the laborers. You should do your own mining, cooperative mining. We registered cooperative mining and all that. Went up to the Supreme Court, and then sheer mercy of Justice Bhagavati, who was at that time as a public interest litigation interest and all that. Then we sort of told him, we want stay order. He said, no, you are not supposed to talk to me about the cases in my court. He said, no, we are not talking to you. Stay order, please give me stay order. So finally, the case came up, he started shouting, stay order, stay order. And finally then he saw us, there is the maximum for the thing and all that. Then he came back. Then this thing started, now start cooperating mining. Then we didn't find the people anywhere. Because before that, there used to be hundreds of people all the time protecting us with the bows and arrows from all the Marwadis and the police and all that kind of thing.
Which tribal group?
Ho tribals. Hos is a part of Munda Ho tribals.
Right.
And when the work is over, they said, then finally somebody took courage and then said, sir, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. You too take up the license. We will work for you. You give us money, don't give us, don't bother, we produce. I said, that's not the idea. The idea is you people own everything. You people are the laborers. You people should do, sir, this paperwork, going to the office, all that things is not possible because that departments have come. Departments of technology said, we will provide you all that. And the bank said, we will offer you money. The Steel Authority of India said, we will buy your limestone and all that. And then he said, where is it? Then we discussed with the people. People said, no, it's not possible. It's beyond us. And none of them are literate. And even their, what you call the patta, land patta, they used to keep it in the attached roof. So for this purpose, we used to collect the patta. When they take it out, only half of it will come. So termite eaten and all that. I mean, that kind of stage of people and all that. So I said, what's the use of showing to the world that you and I can run a kind of thing and all that? Then he said, we are not running the things. And what do we do with the pits? Dug up the huge pits. Then they suggested we will make it into a fish tank. That we can manage. Fish tank and all. So we put the fish there and all that, and then they are sharing. If that one or two mines, it is still continuing, sharing and all. Several other things what we did could not be continued. Newspaper we did, and cooperatives we did, and collective farming we did, and adult literacy we did, cases in the court and all that we did. I mean, all that we could not do because. So my idea was, why is it social change in a minimum limited area, when affected, doesn't become stable? It's a right thing we are doing. So for sometimes they paid minimum wages, but then when we left the place, then that goes back. Then we felt I like to study on this kind of things. So I went to JNU, and did my That's the end of, that's a result of my nationalism
Okay.
without a nation in India.
Okay. In which year you went and
98,
joined,
99.
masters in?
Masters, in the meantime, I had some scholarship. I went to Philippines
Okay.
for the masters.
Oh, okay.
That's where I did some critical theory and all that kind of
Okay.
thing.
Philippines, which university?
University of the Philippines.
Okay.
University of the
So
Philippines.
your masters, MA in philosophy?
MA in sociology.
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 Okay. From Philippines. Okay.
Philippines. Then
And
MPhil I
you-
joined here.
In
MPhil I
jail.
joined here. This is my MPhil thesis actually.
Okay. Okay.
MPhil thesis, and then
Nationalism without
nationalism
a
without
nation.
a nation in India. So then I thought I should take up on something, maybe go back to Tamil Nadu and all that or something like that. But then this became such a famous book. I got immediately appointed as the Ambedkar chair professor in Odisha.
Okay. Which university? Utkal?
No, it was a private
Okay,
body,
okay.
NISWAS,
NISWAS.
National Institute of Social Science
Okay,
and Social
okay,
Work
okay.
and all that kind of. But that was a terrible man. He is a bureaucrat, founder and director and all that.
Oh.
So I couldn't stay more than. But then I was not too much interested. I said I should do some writing and continue and all that. In the meantime, I had taken up this Ayuthi Dasar. I sort of stumbled upon some small information. I got it read somewhere and all that.
Okay.
Then I hunted and hunted. I found this very rich
Alright.
kind of thing, suppressed and so on. So I found I wrote that and so on. I didn't continue my PhD. I said I'm not looking for a job. It was already late. I was
Okay.
early 40s.
Was it registered in JNU?
Yeah,
PhD?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I
What
had
was
still
it?
my PhD registered
Okay.
there. In JNU.
What is the topic there?
Topic was the making of a nation in Tamil Nadu.
Oh, in Tamil Nadu.
Tamil
Okay,
Nadu,
okay.
making
Is
of a
it
nation.
focusing on the Dravidian movement or?
No, any cultural, territory, language-based cultural entity
Okay, okay.
entering into modernity
Right.
transforms itself into a nation.
Okay.
Nation. And how it did and did not, what are the obstructions, what are the pro point and all that, the transformation of Tamil Nadu.
Right, right.
As an example of how possibilities existed for all the other groups within the Indian subcontinent and doing which is the best thing for this place.
Right.
That's a kind of thing. And after that, I became so famous here, there and all that. People know, very few people read that book. But then I said, very few people say it correctly also. Nation without nationalism.
Okay.
I said nationalism as an ideology is everywhere you found,
Right.
but nation as a community we are not finding. That's the idea.
Okay.
So I had to survive also, no?
Right.
I didn't have any money, so I had to be here and there teaching, and I got 1 year here or 6 months here, there, and all that kind of
So
thing.
you were in Central University of Hyderabad and
Hyderabad for
okay.
2 years I was there, and then FLU 2 years I was there, and 1 year in Surat I was there, and 1 year in Delhi I was
Oh,
there.
which institution in Delhi?
Delhi University,
Delhi.
the political science department
Right,
and all
right,
that.
right.
So all that I had a whole experience of how the academic institutional life in India also. So the meantime I said the way I came to understand certain basic things that explains reality in India, I should communicate to others. So we started this critical quest.
Oh, I see. Very
Because
good.
at that time also it was 10,000 rupees the salary it was. I didn't know what to do with the 10,000 rupees, so we said we have this.
Okay.
Because we had an earlier experience of doing publication in Jharkhand.
Okay. Oh,
So now we'll try this.
Oh.
So we started
That was
doing.
also in English.
No, that was in the
Ah.
Hindi, Hindi, English mixed up
Oh, I see.
for them to understand
so that whole
everything.
language is written in Devanagari. now.
In Devanagari, some write in English also.
in Roman also.
So So I said it took up it an experience and so on. So once in a year, 10 booklets you put out, and then that became also a big thing, a demand and all that.
Even today,
And mainly it is due to her.
Okay.
And she is a Mallu, so she has a little more push, So into all the seminars and all that. And she has a vast range of experience to tell you. There are people who welcome you and all that. There are people, you want to make money out of us? I mean, capitalists making money and all kinds of experiences and all that. So but she has been pushing for.
So this publication house, it was started in which year?
2004.
Okay.
2004 and nearly now. The COVID has a big rupture. So we are only wondering if somebody will take it up, so can proceed and all that. But then when you go to a meeting like this, seminar like that, and you find another 5 years let us try and all that kind of thing. So you're running like that.
Okay. So could you elaborate more on your that MPhil dissertation, which became a very important book, Nationalism, the critique of nationalism, especially in the context of cultural nationalism growing into totalitarian, over-representational kind of monopolies and creating violence, even genocidal kind of violence happening in India on a day-to-day basis. So what is your...
See, basically, I started with it was MPhil. No?
Right.
I wanted to do nationalism and the PhD.
Right.
So the first, for a preparation for that, I thought I will do some review of literature.
Okay.
So I read through the entire literature on nationalism. Nationalism in India, and I found there is no writing on nation.
Okay.
But all of them are written on nationalism. And I found most of them are political scientists or historians. History people write about nationalist movement and blah blah and all that. And political scientists about the ideology of nationalism and so on. But I did my sociology MA in Philippines and all that.
Right.
So what is a nation?
Right.
Is it? So when you ask a what is a nation question, then the whole thing becomes something else. The scenario is something else.
Okay.
And is nationalism supposed to be against a nation or coming into being of the nation? So I find some small clues in some people's writings. You know that the bureaucratic colonial bureaucrats criticized nationalist movement and nationalism.
Okay.
Subaltern scholars
yeah.
have criticized nationalism. And traditional Marxist writers, they said these are bourgeois stuff and all that kind of thing. So all of these people have something to say against nationalism, but they don't jump into, use the category of a nation, which I studied in sociology. So that sociological item and the question I raised, nation becomes important in the whole questioning, not nationalism. Nationalism is supposed to be a promoter of nation being. So what I found was that these people are all... So as a sociology student, I studied a lot of movements. Now in that book you would have seen the narration of, enumeration of all the movements of... And I found all of their trajectory was one direction. Towards education, employment and representation, etc., etc. I said, this is what nation is about. Is it? Nation, and it is secular. And funny, the very interesting thing is that these are all in vernaculars. They were not like the nationalist people linked in English language, collecting from different regions. These people are Narayana Guru and Saudharana are all doing something. And here Ayodhidasar and Periyar and all doing something else in the north. But all of them are same. They are all, when we have become, now the times are different, what we are looking for is, it cannot be anymore like the olden times. We need education, all of us need education, employment, etc. etc. Now that is the modernity. Then I found modernity is seriously rejected. Hind Swaraj is totally rejected. And the more I did my writings on modernity, and the core of modernity is nothing but coming into egalitarianism. And all other technology, modernism and all that is to serve this. The newly emerging people. Then I found I had some kind of idea that there is something, it is these people who are going to constitute modernity, social movements and so on. It's merely calling them into a social movements and putting them aside and I am a political movement and all that. These are all part of ideology and so on. And when I started writing only, I realized that. Otherwise, it still continued to be a kind of, review of literature only. Then I sort of realized, and I gave that book manuscript to two of my professors. Please read, try to see whether because that was something new, which I tried to say, these are the casteist people or the nationalists. And political people are not. So it was, what is his name? Dipankar. He kept it for a long time, and after he took trouble reading through the book and then saying, you are calling casteist people nationalist movement. Nothing. Then I was trying to get it published and all that, and I sent it to 3 people, including OEP. OEP sent to 2 reviewers. One was Manoranjan Mohanty, and the another was a local guy. And they said this is something new, try to be ideologically different and all that. And one thing they were worried about is whether it is a repetition of colonial condemnation of nationalists and all that. No, this is producing something else, sociological kind of thing and all that. Then it was some 50th year, I think, of independence, 1997, I think. Okay. So they hurriedly, they otherwise the OEP takes ages to publish the thing. So I think and got it out and all that. Yeah, I went and gave to a lot of people. Could you kindly criticize this? I would like to Ramila Thapar and Bipin Chandra and all that people and all that. Not a single one of them had anything to say. He said, no, it is not like that. It's not so simple as you are making it out and all that. Nothing more detail and all that. But the people found there is something in it. Not so much the academic people, it came much later. The first thing was people found something in it. And then they tried to understand a few pages here, there. Of course, it was slightly academically written. Otherwise, you will get thrown away. Where the thing you have to be keeping the protocol and all that kind of thing. But people, in spite of that, people try to understand something or other. And he says, in the context of speaking about nationalism, he's talking about Ambedkar, Periyar, Sahodran Ayyan, Poigai, Johanan, and all that kind of thing, has something to do with nation building. So that way it became a bestseller. And most of them outside the academics. Then eventually many of my old students and colleagues and all that, they became employed here, there and all that. Then Sarko bulayenge, Sarko will call him, will give a lecture, and then nationalism with everything, it became a little more. And then there are 2-3 notices from abroad. 2-3 notices from abroad, then very good reviews they had. So it became a kind of famous and so on. But by the time I was busy with writing this Ayodhya, finding out Ayodhya's movement and so on. And that also was apparently first time bringing out Ayodhya out. No? So that became also a famous thing. I edited that volume, 3 of his writings, 3 volumes of his writings in Tamil.
I see. So it is in Tamil still?
In Tamil still.
So there is a
that one small piece I have translated is Sudesi Reform.
Okay, that I got. Okay,
sir. What later I found was, whatever I said in nationalism without nation in India, at the time I didn't have time to read Periyar or Ayodhya. So I said these people are all struggling for the same, mentioned them and all that. Afterwards, with the relaxed moment, I took up Periyar and also Ayodhya. I said these people are doing exactly the same thing in a much better way than I am in a very contorted way trying to do it academically. Then I said it's more worthwhile bringing out these people what they speak to the public rather than I write another academic book for the thing and all that. So ever since then I am engaged in doing Ayodhya and Periyar and that.